Hi, and welcome to Elicia Woodford's Resource Vibe. This is your directory for master level spiritual healing, guidance, and business resources. It is truly an honor and such a gift to speak with our guest today, Virginia Nava, MBA. She is a branding, marketing, and business consultant, working with Fortune 500, nonprofits, startups, and entrepreneurs for over 25 years. She is the author of 3 books: Meaningful Freedom, Your Unique Gift, and a strategic e-guide. The missing link is the meaning link. Virginia believes that everyone is born with a unique gift, and she has a passion for helping entrepreneurs make a difference in the world. Virginia is your inner gift giver. I first connected with Virginia 10 years ago at a women's networking meeting, and the moment I met her, I felt her authenticity, and there was something special about her, and I just knew I wanted to work with her. At that point, I had already been working with business coaches for years, developing my programs and my marketing strategies. And then I met Virginia. Virginia is the first person I had ever met who focuses on your inner gift first. And then that leads to authentic communication and connection to all the people who are looking for and needing your inner gift. This is a concept that's not really talked about in the business and marketing coaching world, and it is so needed. And it completely makes sense to focus on what your inner gift is first. So I started working with Virginia, and the work that she does is very deep and transformative. She saw my gift of being the nurturing mother, and then how that was not being reflected on my website and the way I was communicating, and even my programs and what they were communicating and who I was targeting. So she helped me clarify first and then align my communication to be authentic to how I actually was while I worked with clients. She helped me see the discrepancy with how I was communicating on my website and in my marketing. And that made a huge difference for me in my business, that I then started getting a lot more clients, and I felt more aligned as well. And then my business evolved with that alignment. So just this week, when I was preparing to interview Virginia, I was reminded of the work that she did with me over the years. And I had evolved my business so much since we last worked together that I wanted to see if I was still aligned. And so I listed out Free to Be Me book, my core emotional healing self-study, my new True Essence program, and the Resource Vibe podcast. And I saw how I am aligned, and my business did evolve, and I continued to evolve with that alignment because of the work that I did with Virginia. So all that I have created and all that I offer supports everyone with what they need. Virginia, you are a gift that keeps on giving. And I'm so excited to speak with you today and share your gift with all of the listeners. So welcome to the Resource Vibe, Virginia.
Thank you, Alicia, and thank you so much for sharing our story together and your amazing gift as well with all of us. So I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to talk with you and to share your wisdom, because it is so unique and it's so needed, especially for us entrepreneurs and anyone who's feeling misaligned, even if they have a job and they feel a little lost, or if they're just not sure what to do. And there's many people who have businesses, but they don't feel like things are happening, and there's a reason. So, Virginia, I'd love for you to share with us all how you started when you started seeing what was needed and what was missing?
Thank you for asking that question, Alicia. What I found was when I was doing my marketing consulting at the beginning, when I became an entrepreneur, I would have clients and I started noticing that I would do this amazing business plan or marketing plan or campaign or whatever, right? And then I would kind of give it to people and people would be like, yeah, I can do it. I'll do it on my own. And then I was noticing, they were having challenges with implementation. Then I started changing a little bit of the process. And I was like, okay, why don't I help you implement? Like, why don't we have accountability sessions? So we're going to have a plan. Then we're going to have accountability sessions. And then we're going to be seeing your results. And then we'll meet every week. Then I started noticing that through those sessions we were talking and we were like, okay, why you're not implementing? What are the challenges? And during those times, I started noticing whether it was an organization or a person or an individual or with executive coaching, that people were not aligned. So they were trying to create a strategy for something that in their head seemed right. And then they were putting it into paper. And then when it came to acting on it, they were not doing it. And in a way, it was intuitive. Like it was an actual okay. Like it was actually good that they were not doing it because it was not aligned. Then I started asking them questions and I started kind of refining those marketing plans and refining those processes. And through the refinement, that's when I realized was like, wow, like when people align what they do in terms of marketing, messaging, and communication with who they are, they start getting improvements because a person may not do 100 sales calls because it doesn't feel right. Like it feels like it feels overbearing. It doesn't feel like it's them. Or a person may not go to 20 speaking engagements because they're not ready or rather because they're not confident. So I realized that there was a big issue in confidence, but the confidence wasn't going to be through the strategy. It was going to be through who they were naturally. And that's when I started discovering that my gift was to actually see them naturally of who they are, like what are their essence, what's their personality like, what do they dislike.
So, yeah, in terms of business planning and marketing, most coaches just take what the person wants to do and helps them implement it. And that oftentimes we have an idea of what we do, but it's not exactly who we are. Is that what you saw was happening?
Yes, and also when you're not an expert on something, like when an entrepreneur comes or a business owner comes, they're not a marketing expert. So when the person is not a marketing expert, then they think that what needs to be done is the messaging or the communication strategy or the pitch. And they really don't know the process that somebody has to go to get there. And usually what they know is a traditional marketing or business process to get there, which you meet, you talk about who the target audience is, and then you go, whatever, do a messaging, right? So most of the time, there's not a lot of literature out there about how do you integrate who a person is. Are they introverts? Are they extroverts? What are their gifts and talents? What are their strengths? What's their cultural background? Most of the time, people basically in the marketing world, if a person has expertise in marketing, like has gone to trainings on storytelling or whatever, most of what they learn is how to tell their story, how to do branding, how to do a plan. And they look at it from like basically their starting point is some important aspect of the story and the target audience and the competitive analysis on the website. So it's a really external process, which is not the right way to do it, in my opinion. So people fail constantly. Well, I see that. No, some people succeed, but some other people I've seen that are not succeeding constantly is because they're doing this really external process as business is an external thing. And for a lot of people I serve who are service providers, who are really light workers, who are soul driven, heart led, what they're doing is not external to them. Like it really does matter to them. And it's an expression of who they are and what they believe in and their why. So when a person comes to them with a really external focused process, it feels really raw. Like it doesn't feel like them. And it almost feels like a dress that somebody, made and then the person has to wear. And it feels really uncomfortable. And when somebody's not comfortable with something, they're not going to do it. They
Mhm.
might do it consistently just because they have willpower, but they're not going to really take it on because it's really unnatural. So for a lot of people, the sales process, the marketing process, the business process feels actually really like it's almost like something they have to push themselves to do instead of something that they feel happy to do.
Mm.
And for me, I was like, I'm a businesswoman, right? I've been in business for myself for more than 15 years. And one of the things when I became a businesswoman was like, do I want to be unhappy? Like did I become a businesswoman just so I can be unhappy doing all these sales things and all this stuff that I am not enjoying? And I think people don't want that. People want to be able to be excited to create a blog. They want to be excited to create a video. And a lot of people are focused on the tool instead of like, how do you help somebody to actually enjoy? And because the enjoyment and the connection with their audience is what clicks, right? Is what makes marketing work.
Mhm. And oftentimes it's maybe where they arrived themselves and they're communicating from that place instead of where their client actually is. Is that right?
Yes. And also the most important part of marketing is that a client trusts you. Is that somebody says, "Oh my God, I trust Elicia. I feel connected to her. I like what she's doing. I want to go see her." You don't achieve trust by just talking about your customer, by saying, "This is what you are. This is what your pain points are. This is what your issues are. Let me help you." And then you're like this, I don't know, guru or whatever, and you help people. People trust people that are people. And one of the challenges that we have, including myself, is that when we only market towards somebody without being approachable, without being available, it does not work. So we have to be first available, but in order to be available, we also have to have a coach and a guide that helps us understand why that's uncomfortable for us. Why is it uncomfortable for me to go to LinkedIn and tell a personal story? Why is it uncomfortable for me to share my challenges with somebody? And that's what clicks, right? That's the marketing that clicks. What clicks is like, why do we come up with this why? Most of the time, the why that we come up with is not this like easy butterfly like moment. Like a lot of times it's some realization, some aha moment. And then that's the marketing that clicks, which is not a constructed messaging marketing. It's a really human connected marketing.
Virginia, what do you see where people are and what is the disconnect for entrepreneurs when they're typically marketing themselves or going to talk with their ideal market? If they're blogging or posting on social media, what is the disconnect?
There is various levels of disconnect. Okay. So the first level of disconnect is for the entrepreneur to really not understanding who they are as a person, like what are their inner gifts and talents, and using the platform that is the most aligned to those gifts and talents. That is the first level of disconnect. So if you have somebody who is writing but is better at video, why are they using writing when they can be using videos? And so a lot of times there's a disconnect between the talents and the delivery. The other part that there's a disconnect is when a person only talks about the pain points of a client, but without connecting them to them personally as a coach or as an expert on something. And then another way in which they disconnect is because they're not meeting the client. They're not able to communicate to what their specific challenge is happening. Because, Alicia, and I'm sure you can share maybe your own example is, if you're a guide, if you're a service provider, if you're a coach, you may have already kind of went through that a long time ago. So sometimes we forget and we start talking where we are now instead of really going back to where we were and how we got from where we were to where we are now. So maybe you want to share a little bit about your experience.
Yeah, definitely. So you helped me, Virginia, when we first started working together because I was focused on targeting people with candida who needed to do the emotional healing. That was the missing piece for them. And so I was speaking from an empowered place because I had already become empowered through my own emotional healing. And And you helped me see that I wasn't meeting them where they're at. I was here, and so I wasn't meeting them on the same level with how I was communicating. And, in every way. So all of my blogs and posts and my website copy, my emails, the webinars, everything. So you helped me become aligned with how I actually was in my sessions with them, in being the nurturing mother, meeting their wounded inner child with compassion and love and acceptance. And so that needed to be how I met them in all of my communications and marketing. And it changed everything for me. And I remember you helping me write a blog post about my story, even because as you mentioned, that people need to tell their story and they may not be comfortable doing it, or I was just not telling it in the right way. And you helped me start to um, tell it from my wounded place and how I struggled when I was knowing what was right for me and how I kept doing what wasn't good for me and how my wounded inner child was so the struggles, the conflict and things like that and where it comes from. And that helped me actually eventually write my story and my book in that same way. So that did was like the seed was planted with everything. So yeah.
Thank you, Alicia. As you're sharing that, I guess some tools that come to mind to share with people who are on the call is that if your marketing or communication strategy doesn't feel right, go back to who you are. Go back to basics. Like go back to like when you were 5, like were you drawing? Were you journaling? Were you like talking and getting a microphone? Were you acting? What was that natural thing that you used to communicating? Because one of my gifts is to see what the natural expression of another human being is. And I like, really being observant and being like, um, what is your natural expression? And marketing, if you can reframe it to instead of being this corporate thing where you had to wear the same dress with the same color every day, with the branding color. I remember this story where people were like, what's your color? And I picked my color of my brand because I was like, if I had to wear this dress like with this colors all the time, I want to pick my favorite color. And eventually I was like, you know what? I'm not going to use this color. I just my brand is me, So I don't wear the same color every day, or the same pants. Like I'm not incorporated. It's not a uniform. And so if you are able to relate to marketing as a form of expression, and then you can relate to marketing as a form of connection with with who you serve, and then if you imagine, similar to what Alicia is sharing, when I was sharing with her, it's like, when you are gentle, when you're compassionate, then people are like, oh, like I feel safe with you, right? And one of the things for me as a marketer and as a coach is how can I, for me, philosophically, the first thing is how can I make our relationship a safe space. And then eventually, right, a person who is my client and evolves, right, does their thing on their own, then they need to create for themselves this safe space. So your communication, your business, most of you are doing it because you love it, because you really want to help another person. But I think sometimes we focus so much on who we want to serve that we don't serve ourselves. And then we put ourselves in conditions that really cost us more stress than we need. So if you can just create from a form of safety and be like, I feel safe going to network and doing workshops. Okay, well then do 100 workshops, like I feel safe DMing people. I feel safe doing this. Create a nourishing relationship. Like you have this inner nourishing marketing coach or business coach and take away the belief that the business and the marketing has to be rough and tough, and instead make it nourishing. And when you do, then people are going to feel it because they're not, for example, think about it. When I was receiving all these emails for different offers that people do, when people say, this is last time and this
Oh,
is
yeah.
last time, and like, it's scary, right? Like, it's like, wow, like, but when people are like, are you ready to step up into this next thing? Like, I'm here for you. You know, you have to think that people are making a connection with you, and then you're making a connection with them. So marketing is going to feel so much better for you because it's going to feel like you are developing a relationship with someone through everything that you're doing. You're going to feel good because then it's going to be an expression of you. And then eventually you're going to do more of it because you're going to love it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So you begin working with someone to first help them know and clarify their inner gift. And then from there, how to communicate that that's best for them, where it feels good for them and the people that they're reaching out to. And that's going to be different for everyone. It depends on the gift, the inner gift, and how the person feels safe communicating it and how their people feel safe receiving that. Is it always about safety or?
It's always about alignment. And also, I believe safety is important as for you as a person, as a guide, as a business owner. And the safety from the perspective, do I feel good about what I'm doing? Do I feel aligned? Does it feel like me? Because for a lot of people that I work with, their marketing is important. Like, it really matters. They want to feel that what they're saying is an extension of them. Like, it represents them. It's their stand. They don't just want to just do, like, I don't know, 3 words that, land. So safety in a way is a feeling of, does it feel aligned or does it feel off? And do I also feel like I'm in my strengths? Because a lot of people, um, I guess coming back to what you're saying about what's my process, right? But when you go back to the inner gifts, whether it's an organization or a person, you are going back to the strengths. So if I have Superman and it was my client, and I have Flash and it was my client, and I told Superman to go run super fast, and Superman be like, I fly, like, why are you asking me to go run super fast? And if I tell Flash to fly, then to be like, I don't fly, like, I run, right? So I know this example sounds really funny, but it is the truth. It's like, if I have a person that really thrives into one-on-one deep conversations, and then I put them to do a TEDx, and they really feel really unsafe, like being in front of 1,000 people. Why would I put that person that thrives in one-on-one connection and really wants to do that and put them into a TEDx just because I feel like, yeah, everybody should know what they say? Like, why would that? Like, why, when we have 100 different ways of using marketing, we have to force somebody to use a certain kind of marketing? And I think, to me, that is because we don't take the time, or maybe we don't have the tools to go really tailor the marketing towards the business owner and the person that we are serving. And for me, inner gifts, a lot of people ask, like, I have a guy ask me one time, it's like, what does that mean? How do you do it? There are different tools that can be used, right? There are the traditional tools like Clifton Strengths, that there are traditional tools like the Myers-Briggs. So there's tools like Enneagram, like there's tools for having personality tests. There are tools to understand the why of somebody. For me, do my own tools. One of the tools I use is to go back to the story of somebody. And then in the story of a personal story of somebody, I can see all their strengths. So it could be that they have resilience, they have creativity, they have innovation. In the conversations one-on-one with people, I can really understand more deeply what makes them excited and happy and what makes them really frustrated and stressed. And then through those, really seeing that person as a person. And that's why my mission is treating people as a unique gift. And I think, similar to you, Alicia, I think for me is like, when we were children, we were kind of sent into these systems that saw us as a system. And then basically went into this schooling of a skill set. And then we developed a skill set, but most of the time we were not really helped to understand our natural skill sets.
Mhm.
And that's my gift. Like, that's my natural gift, like, to see that. And then my skill set is to connect it to a business plan, to a marketing plan. And then people report such level of happiness. To me, honestly, it's not only the marketing and delivering the message. I think there's 200,000 ways you can do it. I think to me, the question is, do you want to be happy in the business you're doing? Or do you want to be so frustrated? Because our people are really frustrated and successful. But I think alignment gives you a certain level of fulfillment that lack of alignment doesn't. And that was kind of my experience as a business owner. As a business owner, like when I was trying to get people to help me, I was like, I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel like people were actually understanding or asking me what I really wanted. They were kind of dropping what they wanted. And it stopped being fun, honestly, to help people. And it was fun to do the one-on-one and the guidance, but it wasn't fun to do the marketing part.
Yeah. So how did you apply what you teach others to yourself?
So I've learned, kind of similar to what you're saying to Alicia. It's like I've gone through kind of 15 years of my own healing journey. And how I apply it is I used to be a pusher, like push, like get the campaign, push it and achieve it. And that was kind of my energy. And I was really perfectionistic. And then now I first hold myself into a really sacred place. Then when I'm starting to notice I'm starting this pushing energy, I'm like, why am I doing it? Like, am I afraid? Like, am I like feel like I'm missing out? Like, I feel like people are missing out for me. And then I'm like, and then I go back to a really internal place and ask myself, like, is this really like what I want? Then I go into this heart center to really connect with how I want to serve others. And then I imagine all the people, that have mentioned how much I've changed their life. And then I go into my vision for the future. And then I go into what brings me joy. And then I get really into creative mode. So then marketing becomes this creative, like a pencil. Like then I start kind of writing a blog or coming to a podcast interview with you or apply for a TEDx. So what I've noticed for me is when I am going in the external thing, like when I'm doing what is misaligned is when I'm looking at the new marketing thing that somebody's doing and I should be doing, and then I'm trying to force myself into it. And then I'm like noticing it's becoming difficult. But then I go back to why am I doing this? What does it matter to me? Who I want to connect with? And then, I put myself in almost like this meditative state of really connecting with that person I want to serve. And then when I go and use the tool, so whether it's LinkedIn and writing a note about something I've learned or doing a video interview, then I come in as myself. And then it's so interesting to me because I also started trying to let go of trying to connect with a label of somebody. Because the more I coach people, the more I guide people, I come to the conclusion that each person is unique. It has unique gifts and talents, unique roles, unique things. And I think a lot of people don't feel seen because people are, they're basically Virginia, the mom. I'm like, well, I'm not just a mom. Like I have all these things. So I try to communicate from a place of wholeness for both me and also my ideal client. And then I feel happy. And then when I'm unhappy, it's because I'm not doing it. And then I just have to go back because it's almost like a lot of the things that we are taught to me are things that are not helpful. And then they become habits that we need to unlearn. So when it comes to marketing and business, we have a lot of unhelpful habits, which is do like 100 times a day. And if you're not doing enough. And then that leads to burnout. That leads to inefficiency. And when we are, you know, doing differently, when we're present to doing, when we're selective in doing, it's unnatural in a way. So I think for me, my major lesson is the unlearning of the hyper achieving doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a lot of people, it's the same. It's like the unlearning of the hyperachieving, the trusting that really doing things out of love and alignment have results and not forcing. To me, I think that's the really formula for success because it's not coming from this outer.
Yeah, it's like feminine marketing.
Hmm.
Yeah. And feminine for everyone. It doesn't mean
Yes.
for women. It's the feminine way of marketing, which is more authentic, where it's coming from what we feel, what feels good, and to not have to achieve or push or do a system, that other people are doing that we should do, is coming from that more receptive feminine place where yeah, I do want to share this, and this is how I want to share it, and this feels good to me. Yeah, it's really good. It's really important because I think, most people, and for myself, I did follow, I have a marketing degree. I love marketing. So I'm good at marketing, but I didn't have that awareness of this deeper level that you help everyone with, of the marketing that comes from within. So that's the difference. I have a marketing degree. I know about target marketing and all of that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's authentic to me, because I may have an idea of what I'm doing that's coming from a different place than actually who I am. So we do need your help to get to that deeper inner place of who we are, that we're not aware of. We haven't been seen. It's mostly the conditioning from childhood. Oftentimes, we're not seen in our true gifts. And then also in school, we're taught to do things how they want them to be done. And then in college, and then in business coaching programs. So it's all coming from this external place. And so you're this nurturing mother also, who sees the gift that, we're not oftentimes aware of, that, we're using it, but we don't have the clarity of what our specific inner gifts are and how best to communicate them in our specific way. So you have such a range that you're using to put together this package for everyone of what their inner gift is. And I loved that process and working with you. Like, I remember sitting down at these picnic tables and writing. It was such a beautiful, nurturing process. Like the questions that you have and the process that you have is so nurturing. It's like I felt like, oh yeah, I didn't remember this. I don't remember, or I needed to be shown to me in this way. And that was the process that I experienced with you in writing different prompts, stories and things. And it became clear, more, clearer and clearer, where I was like, oh yes, that's who I am. And then you have this gift of seeing people and helping them, clarify it through your own process. You have intuitive gifts with that. Then you also have the organizational of, okay, how this is going to be done and the different stages of it. And so you have this fullness of this big package for everyone, of this deeper inner process and then a strategic outer that's aligned. Is that right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's so yeah, it is so important. And I love the way you describe it, Alicia, because at the beginning I was like, I didn't really understand, why do I see the inner gifts of people and then what does that have to do with strategy? And you know what I realized, Alicia? It's like, I think the desire we have as people is like children. Like, children want to be seen and heard for who they are. They want to express who they are, their creativity, and they want to make a difference. And as adults, that's what we want. So when we are able to go within, understand our gifts and talents, and then connect them with that mission we have, the purpose we have, the direction we have, and help another human being and impact another human being, then life becomes magical. And then that's what has happened to me when I'm coaching people on this process, because I feel like I'm using my talents, right? Like, I'm able to connect with somebody, see their gifts and talents, their story, then I can see like a blueprint of a roadmap of how they can use these gifts and talents and what are the best tools, like what are the best business tools, business models for who they are to reach their client and make a difference. And then for me, it's almost like a matchmaking of business with a client,
Yeah.
where I'm able to see that impact happen, because basically I think that when we are able to express who we are and make a difference with that, then we really achieve this level of fulfillment. And I think you share something about people who have a job potentially instead of a business. So for those people who have a job, it's similar, right? Like it's when you're able to see what are your gifts, like, as leader, as, skill sets, different things. And you put yourself in the business that has a purpose and alignment for who you are. And then you're able to use that to impact another. Um, then you're able to feel this level of fulfillment. And the more we practice our gift, the best route to share it, impact, and then go back and forth, right? It just becomes like
Yeah.
this state.
Uh-huh.
Because I think that when people just do the inner work of knowing themselves, but they don't share it, there's a feeling of stuckness.
Hmm.
When people just do the outer work, but they feel that who they are is not expressed, then they feel a sense of a stuckness.
Mhm.
So the flow, the expression, the fulfillment comes when both of them come together. And I remember the first time where I really helped, transform my life. And I remember that difference of the person, like, where I was like, "Ah, you're a gift, you're amazing." And I remember the person looking at themselves and saying, "I am so gifted." And this person said to me was like that they almost have this $1 million inside of themselves they didn't know they had. And then one
Mm.
day they did realize they have it. And they were like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do with this?" Right?
I love that you help people see their gift, which means their value. And that's what you were saying. It's like, yeah, wow, it is like I'm rich because I'm like rich with these gifts and I make a big difference. And yeah, I am the $1 million diamond.
Yes. And when people see that, when people like feel it, right? Then they acquire this confidence. And it's a confidence that is what I call inner confidence. And a lot of people say that about my work. They say, Virginia, I felt more confident. And it was
Mhm.
not because the confidence was coming from words, it was coming from the words that express who they are and what they do for others, which is different than a perfect crafted message. And it was great to see people consistently come to the moment where those tools they were using actually help another person's life, because the confidence of them believing in those gifts and talents and believing they were important and matter make them continue to do these marketing things that then led to a person being helped. So my
Mm.
marketing, it has two major goals. One, that the person sees their inner gifts and talents. Two, that they acquire their own self confidence that is theirs. It's not mine, it's theirs. And three, because they are wanting to make a difference, that acquisition of confidence gives them an opportunity to make a difference that makes the world better for all of us.
Our passion is to help entrepreneurs make a difference in the world, and that's what you're doing. So it's huge. Your gift is is huge as you're working with each person because oftentimes we don't know, and so we're not sharing it or we're not connecting to the people because we're not clear with how to. And so that makes a huge difference once we are clear, once we know our value, once we know how to communicate in the right ways for us, because we're all different and our gifts are different and our way we communicate is different and how we feel good is different. But once we're aligned with all of that, then we can make a difference. And so you're just rippling out in the world as you work with each person because that person's going to work with more people and help them. And so that's what's making a bigger difference in the world. So the theme, really what we're talking about is everything happens from the inside out with your work. And and how it does work for everyone. And I know, you work with a lot of entrepreneurs, but you also work with people who have jobs or they're looking to change jobs or they're not happy or things just aren't working and they don't feel good or aligned. What have you noticed when people are not connected to their gifts, they're not even aware of them? I think it most likely affects everything, like all areas of their life, because they could not be in
Yes.
their not be in their joy. They could have health problems because of it, or financial struggles, or just always changing jobs because they don't feel fulfilled.
Yeah. Yes. I definitely see a big issue around the inside out experience. So basically, we are told to do an outside in experience for everything. So if you're a person that is an employee of an organization and works somewhere, if you're a leader of an organization, is creating a leadership of the organization, or if you're an entrepreneur, right? Or if you're a mom or a caregiver, right? Like if you have a role in life, right? And within this role, we are trained to do an outside in. This is what the role is. This is what the skill says. This is what you have to do, but we are not trying to do an inside out experience. So, what would be my advice for somebody? My advice for somebody is when it comes to work, entrepreneurship, leadership, there is one thing called culture. So, if you are applying for a job, apply for a job that you align with culturally. If you're creating your entrepreneurship, do things that align with you culturally. Do a business model that aligns with you and your life. Because basically what happens is that, it's kind of like dating, when people date and then they put the perfect outfit and like all that. And then they try to be like this perfect humans. And then eventually, after 2 months, like they're not that perfect. And then they start showing like their real self. Well, imagine if that person, instead of doing that game, they showed up just real the first time. Then they will have saved themselves 2 months of dating, of trying to be this perfect person to being the real person.
Mhm.
And they will have found somebody who believes and appreciates of them as a real person. So the more we put ourselves in conditions, work, entrepreneurship, relationships, motherhood, caregiving, whatever it is that we have, right? In ways that align with who we are, the less stress we face, the less burnout we face, because the stress and burnout comes from working in places that aren't good. And I'll give you an example. I was really young and I had a corporate job, and I have 4 bosses. It was not aligned in like many ways. But I remember one time when I noticed it wasn't aligned is when I started looking for a meditation group to be compassionate. And I was like, how am I like I'm a really compassionate person. Like I've been a really compassionate person since I was 2. And then when I was like, why am I looking for a place? I asked myself, why am I looking for this meditation place? It's because I want to be around compassionate people.
Mm.
And that was a turning point for me for that particular job to say, I want that job. And then I looked for another job. And then, I really did a lot of analysis to see the culture and the vibe of the place and everything. Because I was like, that place have no compassion in it. Like it was
Mhm.
just work, 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 work 100 hours. There was no compassion wasn't in the lifeline of that particular job, right? So then that moment, in a really intuitive way, I was like, I need a place where people have fun and they laugh and like they are compassionate and they are like a little family, right? And
Mm.
then that new job I got from a company, I worked with a leader who was really balanced, really appreciative. And the job, it was job, right? Like it had a lot of work to do. But I felt that it was more like a family. And then I was
Yeah.
happier. So people, I think that we haven't taught so much to rely on our skills. The reason, like to realize our gifts and one thing that's really important to share, I want to share is your gifts are not just for you to be like, I'm amazing, I can fly. I'm amazing, I'm flash and I can run fast. So it's not for like this self feeling good about yourself. It is so that you understand what you need. Because if you're the best writer in the world, but you don't have a pen and a paper, you're not going to succeed. So if Superman is not flying and he gets a job running, Superman It's not to feel like a failure, even though it's Superman, right? So a
Mhm.
lot of people are feeling burnout and as non-successful or failures or not good enough, not because they're not the most gifted people. It's because they're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
And that is so fixable. From a strategic standpoint, it's so fixable. It's just move this person from this place to maybe a nonprofit organization. Move this
Mhm.
person from
Right.
this relationship to that relationship. Move this person from entrepreneurship, doing a speaking engagements to doing one-on-one intimate conversations. Is one small strategic difference that makes that
Yeah.
person feel completely successful.
Wow.
And I feel like we are living, for me, when I was in that job, I felt like I didn't belong. Like I didn't feel like I didn't fit in. Like, and I didn't, So it was really hard to accept. Like I didn't fit in that place. But when
Mhm.
I accept that I didn't fit in that place and I found a place I fit in, then I was so successful
Mm.
because I was successful in the numbers, right? But internally, I wasn't feeling good. But when I changed that job from this to this, I went from unhappy every day to happy.
That's
And
success.
that's what, yeah, yes. And that's why it's so important to me that people learn this because a lot of people feel how I felt.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love it. And that's something that you can help people with. So, in terms of the misalignment, how can someone work with you that does feel burnout or misaligned? If they're in a job and wherever they're at, entrepreneur or they're an employee or looking for a job, how can you help them? Where do they begin with you?
So thank you for asking that question. What they can do is they can reach out to me via my website or my email. And the first thing that we do is because I believe everybody is a unique gift and has unique circumstances, then I meet the person where they are. And then basically what I would do is I would do a small assessment to see what their need is. So for example, their need is to do entrepreneurship marketing that feels more aligned, or their need will be to get a new job, or their need will be to explore the new phase because they might be in a reinvention phase. And then so we come and understand kind of what their need, then what are the circumstances, what are the challenges that they're facing, and then we go into a plan. And then within the plan, it could be one of the benefits I have is that I have a combination of a coaching process that focuses on the inner side, and I also have a consulting process that focuses on the outer side. For some people, they haven't seen clearly their inner gifts and talents and how to use them to be successful. That is most of the time I see that. For some
Mhm.
people, they have done a lot of inner work and they know kind of the inner gifts and talents, but they don't know how to connect that with the outer world and the strategy world, and then they need help. So I try not to force somebody into like a shoe, like a place, and instead I try to go into this conversation to then see, okay, well, you need a little more inner work or you need more alignment with your inner and outer. And then I would go into an accountability process. I usually enjoy doing work with people monthly because it helps, helps for us to work several months and then people start seeing all the shifts that they have and I start seeing the transformation and we start kind of seeing what are the resistance that they're facing or what are the challenges. So that works really well. However, I do have different programs and they can explore them with me and
Mhm.
more deep.
Okay. Yeah, I love the monthly work with you. It is a process and it's not,
Yes.
okay, tell me what to do. There's an inner process no matter what to work through what resistance has been in the way to break free to the more authentic self and expression and sharing the gifts. And that brings up a lot. Sharing gifts can be vulnerable, especially if no one's seen their gifts before or acknowledge them. And so you really help hold their hand through it and help them work through anything that's coming up around it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say to your point, I think it's both the inner process to really help them hold their hand on the process in a really compassionate outlook. through that. Simultaneously, one thing I noticed in the past, I thought it was like, well, you can communicate, you can do it, and people are like, oh my God, I'm not ready. And then
Yeah.
sometimes too, people need to have their hand held during the process of making that speech, of sending that email, of doing that story. So it's both that being able to be held in the sacred process of that confidence building from within, an inner connection, and also being able to be held in the process of bringing more of who you are outside, because that can be really tender for some people too.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, you do hold such a big safe space for the deep, profound, powerful process that you lead everyone through. And it is life changing for everyone who works with you and everyone who works with them. And I'm just so grateful for you and your gifts. And you do have a gift for the listeners, don't you?
Yes, yes, I do.
What is it?
Yes, so my gift is a book. So I have a copy of my ebook called Your Unique Gifts. And I really love this book because it allows you to be able to read to the examples and also reflect for yourself. And through that reflection, you're able to really create a deeper connection and a deeper connection with those gifts from within.
Beautiful. What a wonderful way to begin the process. Everyone who's listening, take advantage of this beautiful gift of Virginia's book and the process that she's going to lead you through in the book. Do you also offer for everyone who's listening a free consultation?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
I do offer a free consultation, and you are able to email me, and then we can have a 45-minute conversation to see where you are and see how I can support you.
Wow, that's tremendous value. Thank you, Virginia. 45-minute free consultation and your book. Thank you for your gifts for all of the listeners. Thank you for your gifts for everyone that you work with. I'm so grateful for you and the impact that you have on the world. Thank you for being here on the Resource Vibe.
Thank you so much, Alicia. It has been a pleasure to be here with everyone. I am really grateful for all the listeners who have taken their time to be with us today. I want to wish everybody an incredible life filled with amazing gifts and opportunities. And thank you, Alicia, again for trusting me with your gifts and sharing this opportunity to be with you and the audience. You are also a great gift for us. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you all for listening with us. And remember to follow the show for more trusted support and share the vibe. I'll see you next time.